Hey, how y'all doing today? Welcome to the ICI of Myrtle Beach at Horry Georgetown Tech. My name is Chef Wilson Louie. Today I'll be showing you how to make a GenTso's chicken. GenTso's chicken is a very classic Americanized Chinese dish. I'm sure everybody has tried it. The flavor profile of it is sweet, sour, and spicy with this nice crunchy fried chicken tossed in the sauce. So I'll be showing that to you today. One of the reasons why I want to do this dish this month is American Pacific, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So this is why I want to showcase this dish. Let's get started. Let's talk about some ingredients that we'll need. Right now, we'll talk about our aromatics real quick. This will be to build our sauce in the wok later on. We have some minced ginger, that's very fine, minced garlic, some dried chili pods, some chili oil that I showed y'all in the last video. So we're bringing that back. This will give us our nice spicy kick from our sauce. And to finish our sauce off, we have some sesame oil. For veg that we want to put into our sauce, traditionally you'll probably see broccoli, line the dish with it, or some onions and peppers. For today, I just want to do one bell pepper today, just for a nice crunch. For the cut of it, I want to do a large dice. So I have a cleaver, how I cut my onions, or peppers, top, bottom to be squared off, incision from the side, and go around. Get a nice flesh, chop in half, chop it half. Then you have these nice quartered sections. I want them fairly large because they're going to shrink a little bit in our wok cooking. All right. Do a large dice on these. All right. You got tops and bottoms that can be used also. Our seeds, compost. All right. Those are for our peppers, and we'll set that aside. This one's a little big. Well. Next, we need to work on our chicken. Our chicken we're using today is a chicken thigh. You can use chicken breast. You can use skin on, skin off, whatever you want. Put some gloves on. All right, so today we're going to use a chicken thigh, skin on, we have a bone in. What are we going to do? We've got to take the bone out, right? So, right next to the bone, both sides, go right underneath it, right, and just follow the bone. Fold. Boom. Deboned. Got a thigh. Same thing, we want to do a large dice. What do we know about proteins? When they cook, they shrink, right? So a little bit bigger than you want. I'm going to cut these in half into thirds. All the way through the skin. Boom. And then that's going into our chicken. I already have some left over. So, boom, boom. Let's get away our raw products. Work clean, work organized. So our chicken, it's diced. Now we're gonna start marinating. Our marinade. So we're frying this chicken in a batter. So that means, and it's tossed in sauce. Not only are you gonna get flavor from the sauce, but you wanna get your meat enough flavor. So we have a little bit of salt. Well, a little bit of salt. There you go. So we're gonna mix that in fully. Make sure it's well seasoned. So I'm putting salt into this, but in the sauce we have garlic, ginger, right? We can add ginger powder, garlic powder to accent all the way through. It'll be very nice. All right. Put half an egg, just to give it a little bit of moisture to bind everything. Cornstarch to coat the chicken evenly. And a little bit of water. Mix that all the way through. One thing I like to do with chicken, with any meat that I am marinating, I like to work my hands into it and actually massage it so that all the cornstarch and everything gets binded to it. Essentially, the cornstarch is a binding agent for all the flavor, all the egg and everything, and help actually makes it a lot tender. There you go. So you actually see the liquid. I put water in here and eggs in here. If you look at the bowl, it's almost non-existent because it's actually I'm massaging the meat and it's getting soaked into the chicken, so it becomes much more tender, flavorful, and juicy. Right? When we fry chicken, you want to make sure it's nice and juicy on the inside, not just like fried crispy on the outside. Okay, so we have our chicken already marinated, done. Let's set that aside for a minute. Let's talk about batter. If you ever had GenTso's chicken or you go to a Chinese restaurant, you eat fried chicken, that batter that coats it is pretty thick, but it's super airy and crunchy, right? So we're gonna build that here today. All right. So in a bowl, we're gonna have 3 tablespoons of flour, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Now, to make this batter nice and crispy, you can't go all cornstarch because it's going to be just hard, or you can't go all flour because it's going to be soft. So you need a both mix of parts of 2. The ratio that I use is 3 to 1. 3 parts flour, 1 part cornstarch. All right, we're going to mix that together. Also, we're going to add is a teaspoon of baking soda. This will, when it heats up, it makes it nice and airy. If you've done baking, some baking things, like in the baked goods, you have baking powder, it's a leavener. So when this fries, it puffs up, gets nice and airy. All right, and then we're gonna add some water. So it becomes a batter. I'm gonna put a little bit at a time just to work it in. Sometimes you need more, sometimes you need less. All right, a little bit more. Let's go around the rim. Make sure you get all your flour in, especially if you're measuring things out and you have stuff left onto the side of the bowl. Make sure you get every single bit out. So the consistency of this batter that you're looking for is almost like a pancake batter, where it's kind of still thick and to work with. So right now I'm a little thin. I'm gonna make sure I get all of my goods in. There you go. All right, so once that's all mixed in, you don't have any more lumps. You add a little bit of oil in, just so that it keeps everything nice and smooth and it coats the chicken very nicely. All right. Cool. You can also season this batter also. so that you get flavor all the way through. So I got some extra salt in here, and then the other half of egg goes into your batter. All right, we're gonna let these two set aside, and then we're gonna work on our sauce. Before we start working on our sauce, I'll tell you about the sauce. Let's heat up this oil, make sure it's ready to rock. We're gonna be deep frying our chicken, right? So that means you need a deep pan, about 3 to 4 inches of oil, so that it can get completely submerged, so you get nice and crispy. Let's talk about sauce. For our GenTso's chicken, it's a little bit different than your normal Chinese restaurant GenTso's chicken. We are going to use honey, and we're going to ferment the honey with garlic. So I made some the other day. You see how honey is supposed to be thick? This is nice and runny from the garlic. Let's talk about that and walk you through how that happened. So what you're gonna do, you have some honey, some raw honey. Hopefully you have a farmer's market nearby, a local beekeeper, and you have nice raw honey. Then you have wonderful garlic cloves. All right, so garlic cloves, if you ever like bruise them or anything, you'll see that it releases a liquid, right? So if I just use the back of this mason jar and bruise it a little bit, what happens when it sits? It oxidizes and turns brown. The liquid that comes out, or the chemical, is called allicin. All right. So if you bruise up your garlic a little bit, it releases allicin. That allicin breaks down the honey, and it helps the garlic ferment. And then you end up having a product where your garlic doesn't have that raw sharpness anymore. It actually has a nice sweetness from the honey, and your honey has like a garlic flavor. Now, why is that good for me right now? GenTso's chicken, what do you usually, the flavor profile is nice, sweet from honey, sharpness from garlic, and ginger, right? So I have a little bit of honey in here. It's already made. We actually got this from a local farmer. We have a farmer's market every Thursday outside the school. And we have local farmers sell their vegetables and their goods. Our baking and pastry program, our breads program, sells breads outside, and they're completely wonderful and amazing. So we have our crushed garlic. We're going to throw it into our honey. You take a spoon and you mix it all the way through. You see how like my honey is super thick, right? Right now, you give it. So this, I made this 3 days ago. So you see how like runny it is compared to this thick honey, right? Because that's how honey is supposed to be. Again, so the allicin starts breaking down the honey, and then it's a fermentation process. You cap it, you let it sit at a room temperature area, shaded, and you want to every day, you want to burp it. What is burping it, right? What happens when you burp? You release gas, right? This is the same thing. It will start to release gas. You will start to see bubbles form around it. And then after a while, you can move it around like as if the honey was water, right? So like this right here. All right. I've actually made some specifically for GenTso's chicken. So in this, you just have honey garlic. And this is just wonderful on anything that you want to put honey garlic on. Say that you buy a pizza and you want to drizzle this on there. Fantastic. If you ever feel like you have a cold or anything, you pop one of the garlics into you, it boosts your immune system, and it'll knock the cold out of you. I've made one. This is a little bit darker. I've actually added chili pods in here. So in here, it has that nice, it's a smoky from the dry chili pods, and then I have the garlic in here. So it's a lot darker. Here, let's look at this real quick. I'll pour some in here. So in it, if you smell it, has rich garlic flavor. It's been fermenting. So actually, when people actually taste it, when they smell it, they're like, "Whoa, did you open a thing of soy sauce?" No, it's just the fermentation of the garlic and the chilies. You see how dark it is? This is what I want in my GenTso's chicken. All right. So actually, I have a couple tablespoons. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more. It tastes wonderful. And then actually, I'm gonna pull one out right here. You can see I got dried chili pods. All right. Let me get a clean spoon, and you can pull one of these garlics out. Look how like caramel, like how fermented. Like it looks like it's caramelized, like black garlic. It looks fantastic. And you can, if I wanted to, I can just smash it, put it in my sauce, oost more garlic flavor. All right. Let's put this away. Boom, boom. All right, so we have our fermented garlic sauce. I am going to add some water to tone down the flavor of it, to give it more body of sauce to coat everything. When we actually do our stir fry, we have cornstarch and water to make a slurry, to thicken it up, tighten it up. Because whenever you get GenTso's chicken, that sauce pretty much blankets the chicken, right? So we have the peppers, spicy. We have sweet from the honey. What else you need, GenTso's? You need a little bit of vinegar. Right here, I want to keep it like have a nice fruitiness. So I actually have apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna mix this into it. So now that's your sweet, that's your sour. We got chili oil and peppers from the fermentation for your spicy. I'm gonna add a little bit of soy sauce. Soy sauce will give it nice saltiness, all right, to well round the flavor. So boom, that's sauce. Boom. All right, and we'll set that onto our stir fry pan. All right. Clean as you go, clean up. All right, I think we're almost ready to fry. All right, happy Friday, right? Fry. Let's look at our oil. Oh yeah, it's ready to go. All right, we got our marinated chicken, and we're gonna put our batter to it. All right. All right, we're gonna mix our batter into our chicken. Your chicken, I would highly recommend you marinate it overnight. That would be really good. Even like 30 minutes beforehand will be delicious. All right, let's take a spoon, mix them all the way through. You wanna make sure you coat every single chicken with your batter. All right, so that's fully coated. I actually use chopsticks to fry. You can use a pair of tongs, pair of tweezers to go in. All right, clean off. Time to fry. All right, so we got our oil hot. How do you know it's hot? We're actually frying this chicken in 2 stages. First fry, you want your oil to be at 300 degrees. First fry, why do you want to fry it in 2 different stages? First fry is to make sure your chicken's fully cooked. You're going to have a nice golden yellow color, but you're mainly looking for your chicken to be fully cooked. Second fry is to make sure it's all nice and crispy. Your second fry brings out all the oil from your first fry, which makes it nice and crispy. All right, which makes it nice and you enjoy it whenever you develop in sauce. Oil. We talked about last time how you know oil is ready. You move it around. You see that it moves. It's very flowy. One thing you can do, you can drop your batter in. If it comes up, that means it's done. Now, if it immediately turns golden brown, that means it's way over. That means it's way too hot. So right here, it's still nice and white. That means we're ready to go. All right. So what you need to have when you fry anything, make sure you have a bowl or something to put your finished product in. I like to have a spider to make sure you get any residual oil. And I like a slotted spoon to pick up any of the chicken or anything you fry so you get all the oil out from it. All right, so make sure you set up your station. Now what you want to do, you want to drop it in one by one. All right. Go slow, make sure Nobody stays together, gets clumped up. All right, go in here. Make sure everybody has their own room in their party. All right. Put a little bit more. One thing you have to worry about, if you put too many into the pan, you're going to drop the oil temperature, right? You never want to do that. You want to make sure it's nice and consistent heat. It's talking about heat control and make sure your fire, your oil stays at one temperature. All right. Now you look at this chicken, some of them are starting to turn nice and yellow, but you want to make sure they're all fully cooked in this first fry. Now a lot of restaurants, this is what a lot of restaurants do, in Chinese restaurants especially, they'll have it fried once and then they'll cool it down completely. And then when it's time to cook your order, they'll fry it at a higher temperature at 350, 400 for 1 to 2 minutes, and nice and crispy, tossed in sauce. All right, this first stage usually takes about 8 to 9 minutes to make sure it's all fully cooked at a low temperature, just to make sure it's all fully cooked. Color development is not as important. All right. While this is frying, I want to go ahead and bring over my stir fry. Just a little bit longer. So let's talk about GenTso's chicken for a little bit. GenTso's chicken isn't classically a Chinese dish. It has Chinese origins. A Chinese chef in New York invented this dish in America because he wanted something to kind of taste like where he grew up in the Hunan province. So the characteristic of this dish, like we talked about, is sweet, sour, spicy. That is a characteristic of the Hunan province. But this dish is originated in America. It became one of the staples in America. Whenever people talk about, is it authentic Chinese food? I mean, I believe it's authentic to Americanized Chinese food. And that's a whole nother region of Chinese food that should be respected also. Chinese food in America, I believe Chinese food and Americanized Chinese food is the most American thing in America. If I've asked people how many times they've eaten apple pie, which is the most American dessert, and they'll be like, about 1 or 2 times a week, and I'll be like, how many times have you had Chinese food this week? It'd be like 3 to 4 times. So like to me, Chinese food is more American than an apple pie. And I believe that there is more Chinese restaurants in America than any of the chain restaurants. There's actually a great documentary series called Finding GenTso's, which actually goes through the history about this dish. I highly recommend watching those. All right, so we're looking at this chicken. It's developed very tan color, right? But you see these bubbles that's forming around it. So when you fry food, the bubbles that are in it, it indicates how much moisture is in your protein, right? So you see these bubbles. When we first put it in, there was a lot of bubbles. Right now, as I slow down, because it's starting to fry more of the batter. So that means the chicken is done. All right. So I'll take it out. Put it onto a spider. Don't worry about that it doesn't have enough color, right? Because we're going to crank up the heat later. And we're just going to get nice and crispy. Put it in a bowl. Paper towels in the bowl to make sure it gets all the excess oil. Alternatively, you can use a wired rack with paper towels on the bottom to soak up the oil. I'm gonna have both. All right, let's bring the oil back up. While that's heating up, let's talk about how to build a stir fry. All right, stir fries have about 3 parts. 1, aromatic, which we've gone over. 2, sauce, right? And how we're gonna cook it. So if you look at this sauce right now, is thin, right? Like, how am I gonna cook this in the wok? Well, we use a slurry. Slurry is 1 part cornstarch and 2 parts water. All right, I have water right here. I'm gonna mix the cornstarch into the water. So once it's time to use the slurry, it's already ready to go. And this is gonna help thicken up our sauce so it's a nice glaze on it. All right, then next part, you have your vegetables, your meat, what are you gonna put in? All right, so if we're going to how to build the stir fry, let's build it in steps. All right, first thing you wanna go in is your aromatics. So that means your garlic, your ginger, chili pods, and chili oil is gonna go in aromatics. That's gonna get flavorful and super in your face. Then you're gonna add your bell peppers in, that's your veggies. Keep an eye on the oil for me. All right, then the veggies go in, you're gonna sear these off, it's gonna get a little bit of wilted. But for a stir fry, when you eat the stir fry vegetables, you want a little crunch, right? So these go in for about 30 seconds just to release any like juices and flavor. Next step is your sauce. You're gonna start cooking your sauce down. Make sure all the aromatics in the sauce marry together. That's when you start tasting if it needs to be adjusted or anything. I like to keep a little bit of water in case things need to be toned down a little bit. And then your next step is cornstarch to thicken it up, to make it nice and glossy. All right, once those things are done, you're gonna finish with a little bit of sesame oil, and then you're gonna toss in your chicken, you're gonna toss and wok, and it's ready to walk it out. All right, let's go back to our chicken. So we're looking for our oil to be at 375 or 400. All right. Make sure you want to get some excess. These little fried bits are really nice to have if you ever want to mix it with some white rice or anything. All right. Look at it, move it around. There you go. All right, so this chicken's going in for the second time. See how it's like immediate reaction to it? And this fry is only 1 to 2 minutes. This to get it nice caramelized on the outside. You see how quickly it turns brown? going. One thing to know about frying, once things starts to float, that's usually when you know it's done. All right, that means it's not heavier than the oil. All right, let me get a little bit more golden brown color on it. A little bit more. I want it nice and crispy. Also, the reason for the second fry also is that to make it nice and crispy, so when you toss into the wok, the batter doesn't just fall apart. You want to make sure it fully envelops the chicken. Nice and super crispy. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh no, chicken come back. It's not gonna walk away from me. Now, for this fried chicken that we're making right here, this is just a simple fried chicken, like Chinese fried chicken. You can use that for sweet and sour chicken, honey chicken, whatever you want. You can even replace the chicken with pork or shrimp or anything. This is just a simple way of doing it. All right, we're gonna start building our sauce. So we got a wok. Last time I used a wok that fully set in. Right here, I got a non-stick wok with a flat bottom, right? So it sits directly onto your range, right? So more of the heat is gonna be directed onto the bottom, all right? So what we're gonna do, let's put the chicken aside. Let's bring the wok over, the stir fries over. You wanna make sure you mise en place, all right? Everything that I need is right here. I don't need to go running around for anything. I have everything here. All right, so let's look at this wok. You see it's nice and smoky right now. So first thing I wanna do before you put oil or anything, I'm gonna put these chili pods in. All right, I want these chili pods to release any excess moisture, and I wanna toast them. Nobody's like really gonna eat the chili pods unless you dare to. It's mainly there to add like flavor from the chilies. All right. Cool. Now normally I would add oil to this to start cooking like the stir fry, but I'm already starting to use chili oil and it already has oil in it, and I do not want to make it as greasy as normal Chinese restaurants. So you got chili oil in, then you got your ginger, garlic. Woo! Watch out for chilies because it gets kind of choky. Pepper's gonna go in, then you're gonna saute it. Stir fry. I'm gonna add a little bit of your frying oil. There you go. All right, sauce goes in. There you go. All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna let that come to a boil. Make sure everything's marinated, nice and fine. Take a second, taste your work. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, once it's nice and bubbly, you want to add a little bit of your cornstarch. Go a little bit at a time. Don't want to go too thick. Boom. How do I want to know? So if you mix this together, you see how it leaves a trail? That's what you want for your sauce. Sesame oil around the rim. All right, next thing we're gonna add is our chicken. Toss, toss, toss. You see how the sauce completely covers the chicken? Toss, toss. Now we're ready to plate. Never directly put a hot pan onto a cutting board. Get a sheet tray, flip it upside down, and sit on the sheet tray. You don't want to melt the cutting board. So I got this little wok that I love to plate food on. So there you go. We got GenTso's chicken. Nice, completely covered, crispy chicken, bell peppers for crunch. Enjoy.